Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss the 1978 Death on the Nile, starring Peter Ustinov, Jane Birkin, Lois Childs, or Chili's, excuse me, Bette Davis, Mia Farrow, John Finch, Olivia Hussey, I.S. Jahar, George Kennedy, Angela Lansbury, Simon McCorkindale, forgive me if I said that wrong, David Niven, Maggie Smith, and James Warden, and directed by John Guillermin? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Please forgive me. Now, this is my first viewing of this, and what do I think of it? Let's get into it. Jackie de Bellefort, played by Mira Farrow, begs her friend Lynette Ridgway, played by Lois Chiles, to give her fiance, Simon Doyle, played by Simon McCorkindale, a job with Anna as she introduces her to Lynette. And they get married and have their honeymoon in Egypt. And I'm confused at this point. I thought it was Jackie who was married to Simon, but it's Lynette who is married to him. Because they tell me one thing and give me another. Like, how am I supposed to follow this thing without knowing who's married to who? And am I supposed to be confused for 2 hours and 20 minutes straight? Because that's going to be a bumpy ride and very daring for a viewer and critics among that. And again, like last week, I have a really hard time following this movie. Hercule Poirot, played this time by Peter Ustinov, is introduced to the picture as well as Mrs. Salome Otterburn, played by Angela Lansbury, who I first became aware of her as the voice of Mrs. Potts in the animated Beauty and the Beast. But that was not till the 90s, so. But who are these characters and why in the hell should I care about them at all? Well, Simon is taken away from Jackie by Lynette. For what reason? So far, I don't know. And I don't really know who these other characters are. And honestly, I don't care. Even I don't know if I should care for the main character, Hercule Poirot. And honestly, I should because he was in the last movie, but he's not the same character as last time. Maybe it's because he's played by a different actor this time, and as I'm led to believe, every other movie coming out up as they board the Nile, the manager of the Karnaks takes a long time boarding people on the Nile, which is a ship, and this movie is very slowly paced so far. I did, however, enjoy the costume designing in this movie. Some of the costumes look good on these actors, but it doesn't change how slow and how much of a snooze fest this movie really is, in my opinion. Jackie follows Simon and Lynette around like she's going to make attempts to kill them. Even on the ship, honestly, the movie is giving me a very hard time understanding what is happening as I am once again bored. The passengers on the Nile are having dinner in the lounge, and Mrs. Otterburn is drunk and is carried to her room by Hercule as she goes back to his own room. And meanwhile, Jackie distracts Simon from playing poker with a few others, including his own wife, Lynette. And they all go back to their rooms, and Jackie antagonizes Simon and Lynette. And Simon tells Jackie to go back to her cabin, and she shoots him in the leg on purpose. And my problem is Jackie as character is playing evil. It became so obvious that I was not buying that she accidentally shot him. I got the impression she did it on purpose because the way the actress plays it did not convince me. Lynette is killed, and I get the impression Jackie did it, and yes, money was on her because she's the one with the grudge against Lynette. I mean, come on, how freaking obvious is that? If she says she did not do it, I don't buy it. Hercule suspects the guy that's working for Jackie did it, and I don't believe it's him either because Jackie is the telegraphed to death psychopath. and the mystery does not exist in this movie. It's like the end of Alien Covenant, when I predicted Walter didn't make it out alive, but David did. While they were while they're fighting, and the switch to the next scene, except the only difference is I caught it like an hour and 15 minutes into this 2 hour and 20-minute movie. I felt every minute of it too. Simon wakes up from death, and admittedly, it was on the legs, so of course he's going to be fine. I I think based on when he gets interrogated by Hercule, Simon helped get Lynette dead, so they can be together as part of the plan, and that didn't make much sense in my opinion. Hercule gets a cobra in his room and notices it while fixing his mustache and calls the person next door to kill the snake. And I honestly thought he was going to get bitten by the cobra, which would have been which would have slowed the movie down a little further than it is. And the movie is too long. I felt every minute of the running time of 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think the movie needs to be at least 30 minutes of editing room, in my opinion. Hercule interrogates one passenger after another and for the longest time, and it's not quite hitting my sweet spot like last week. Meanwhile, a lady on the ship, Louise, gets killed by him, and Mrs. Otterburn talks with Simon about who killed Louise and Lynette, and before Mrs. Otterburn tells, she gets shot, which looked absolutely fake, but hey, it was the 1970s. What do you expect? Hercule figures out who shot Lynette, Louise, and Mrs. Otterburn, and talks with everyone on the Nile in the lounge and talks about how he figured it out. And it's Jackie who, with an accomplice, who happens to be Simon, pretending he was shot in the leg, and kills everyone and shoots his leg again. And Jackie shoots herself and Simon, and the trip is over. And as a climax, it bored me much more than last time. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 3.9 out of 10. It bored me, and it gave me the hardest time to follow it, and that makes me nervous for the remake of this movie, as well as the remake of Murder on the Orient Express. I do admire the costume design in this movie. It may be the best thing about the movie, in my opinion, but the movie was boring and predictable. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with Evil Under the Sun. And until next time, it's time to go hunt.